right, let's
Skeletal.
start.
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Download Youth Ministry Podcast. This is episode 348. Doug Fields here with Josh Griffin.
Hello.
The Queen, as always, Katie
Hello.
Edwards, and our special guest.
Dun, dun, dun.
So special.
Our special,
So special.
former founder,
Athlete.
co-founder of Download Youth Ministry.
Friend.
Still
former-
founder. You can't take the founder away.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. You're still founder.
You
Yeah,
just took
co-founder.
away all the
Yeah.
Sorry.
bucket loads of cash you guys are making.
Oh, my goodness.
Not after we paid you to leave.
Yeah, no kidding. Bye, Matt.
gosh.
Here's
Yeah,
$7.
We're still recovering from you being piss mode. I can't say former.
That amount was so low I didn't even have to tithe on it.
No, you have to tithe on any amount in case there's
you're
any
right.
kids listening right now. Wow.
Any Griffin
Or if
kids?
you don't-
No kidding, yeah. Oh, actually,
And by tithe, it's your lunch fund.
that's... wow.
Goodness
Good
gracious.
to have you
It's
back,
gonna be a
Matt.
great show, Matt. The last episode,
Yep.
I said that you were going to be here, and I said just prepare for a show where we don't answer really any questions or
Yep.
get anything done. But just
Which
it's
my
a
fault.
lot of fun. Well, typically, most of the time it is.
Yeah.
Like if you were to listen to our last show, you'd go like, "Oh,
You learn a
that's
thing
what
or
a good
two."
podcast sounds like." But for whatever reason,
Yep.
we keep wanting you back here.
Self-deception is so high. It's unbelievable.
Matt doesn't have wisdom. He just has
Either
words.
for me or
No,
for
wait.
you guys. I don't
Do
know
we?
what.
Is there any chance that we're getting what Matt looks like on video?
Yeah.
Can we see?
I sure hope so.
Well, we have multiple
What, I got
cameras
a
and
sweatshirt.
angles.
You know what you
What's
can't-
wrong with that?
but you can't
I'll tell
see-
you what I got for Christmas.
Is Matt's
Oh, gosh.
feet.
Oh,
Ugg boots with laces.
So Matt's Ugg boot
The
with
greatest thing
laces.
I've ever owned in
If
my
you're just
life.
listening and
that
don't
had
have the visual,
potential
Matt,
to be
stand up.
something terrible.
Stand up a little
I
bit.
can't.
Let's
No,
see
come
your
on,
legs
stand
broke
first
my
of all,
legs.
Matt.
Matt is wearing like sport shorts with Ugg boots.
Short sports shorts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
You look relaxed.
yeah.
You look
Just
comfortable.
good to have you.
Unshaven,
So great
unkept,
not to be judged by externals.
fully present. Fully present McGill is here.
Lord looks upon the heart.
That's good.
But
Well,
none of you guys do.
hey, we are thankful to our sponsors,
Except for
Orange, LeaderTrex, Giving Central. We're so excited. LeaderTrex, who
Blah,
gives
blah,
us
blah.
a wonderful
Student leadership resource.
resource every single month.
Every month is part of the membership.
Orange, which 3 of the 4 of us are going to be at the Orange Conference
wonder
the
which
first
3.
week of May.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's sold out yet, but you ought to
It
go.
will.
It'd be like 7,000
It's
people
so
that
fun.
It always does.
show up to that.
Wasn't
a
Orange
good
cool like
time.
5 years ago?
No, oranges.
No, it's super cool.
It's not as
still
cool as your
good.
Ugg boots will
Okay.
ever be, because
Yeah.
those are next level.
Yes.
Or your
I am
sports
Depends on what you're
shorts.
comparing it
I
to.
stand outside of culture.
Matt,
make
what are
sure-
you doing now? Like, it seems like every time you're on the show, you have a new job.
Exactly. You guys don't invite me back here enough. That's why.
What are you doing now?
No, it's been 2 years, so it's about time for a change.
Yeah.
And
Let's just put it this way: you
Yeah.
didn't get canned.
Yeah.
right, as far
Okay.
as you know.
Well,
Yeah, the
I
story
think I do. I
goes,
think
you-
I do know,
you
but
resigned
We've
for
told
a new
such
job.
stories
No, you
over the 12 years we've been doing the show, and I think you've got canned a couple times, so it's fair to
That's
say.
not true.
Just once.
Not a couple times. Yeah, just once.
once.
And actually, I
Real
wasn't really
small.
canned. They dissolved my position. So
Yeah.
there you go.
That's a nice way of saying
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah,
good.
what'd you say
that's
about
right.
self-delusional? What?
Yeah, exactly. I said
position
either you or
got
I was
canned.
self-deluded. Could be both, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So I'm starting a new thing. That was loud. Sorry about that.
Luke's
It's the
turning you
first
down
time.
right
First
now.
time I've apologized
Matt's
for being loud.
Aware of being loud. That's good.
I got shocked at lunchtime. That story was really amazing.
Did Kathy
I was-
tell a story? What happened? What happened?
Yeah, there was a dog that they put into a thing.
Overhead.
Overhead
There's-
at
we're on a plane. A dog is
Yeah.
put into an
And
overhead.
do you know the end of that story?
You don't put the dog in the overhead.
No, and the dog passed on to another life. I know, that's exactly
flight
what
you were
I did.
on, or just this
I'm
is
not
just a
even
story?
an animal person. but I
No,
was so
Cassie was
surprised.
telling the story, and then it's a sad story because the
Super
mom
sad.
couldn't speak English, and the 10-year-old daughter was
Well,
trying to
that's not-
translate, and so the flight attendants made him put the dog in the overhead.
no.
Like it was barking, barking, barking. All of a sudden, stops barking. At the end of the flight, get the dog out, and the dog is dead. And when
goodness.
Cassie was telling the story,
I
when
was not
we
ready
said
for
to
that.
dead, Matt, was
Barked
not ready for
like
it.
a dog in the middle of the restaurant.
So he's like, "Do you want to do your at a?"
You can't. They're involuntary. It's like a sneeze. Yeah.
You reacted to the story incredibly loud.
With
Yeah.
a sneeze.
So are you working with dogs now? Is that your new role?
So now I'm a dog
What's the
walker.
segue of this story?
There is
Dog
no
whisperer?
segue. No. Okay, so I have
Segue.
I have
Segue
switched
into-
Train
to
new dogs.
something that. Do you know about this?
This old
Have you heard
dog's
that I
learning some new
changed?
I don't
tricks. Here
know
we go.
anything.
Let's get it out.
That's right. And
Speak, puppy.
I'm now.
You work with dogs. That's all I know.
That's right. All dogs
Dog
go
ranch.
to heaven. Okay, trying
Puppy
to
farm.
focus.
Puppy mill.
farm. I'm
Breeder,
taking a job
dog
to
breeder.
work locally rather than the company that I was working for before was called Living on the Edge. Very awesome.
It's a ministry of Chip Ingram.
Ministry of Chip Ingram, and they were in Atlanta, and I
Atlanta.
was
Great
working
ministry.
on writing resources and overseeing some stuff, little publishing things, and so. But it was in Atlanta, so I was traveling. Not as much as like you guys do, but way too much. And every time I travel, like once, it's just bad for everybody on both sides and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
everything falls apart.
Yeah, and so this I took
You
a
have 5 kids
position.
at home.
I got 5 kids at home.
Yeah.
but
a lot
they're
of
old enough. They
kids.
basically parent themselves.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they don't need me.
7 feels like the age of accountability.
Right? No, that's not true. So I took a position for one of Saddleback's ministries, one of Rick Warren's ministries, pastors.com. So I'll be working at pastors.com. Doing editorial writing stuff and overseeing new resources.
So you're
and,
coming home. Because
Hey,
you worked at Saddleback
I'm
for
excited.
years.
I work at Saddleback.
You work at Saddleback. You used to work at Saddleback.
So can
Do
we
you work
get
at Saddleback?
Can
I
we
don't.
get
No, you don't.
pastors.com to sponsor the podcast? That's the real question.
Maybe. We'll have to see.
Because
I
that
don't
might
know.
be part of your new gig, right? As you walk the dogs and
As
whatever.
I look for just things to sponsor.
Yeah.
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 No, so it'll be great. I mean, it's a total new adventure. It'll be the cool thing is to be equipping pastors like passion side. That's going to be exciting. As far as like skills and gifts, I think it's going to engage more of my gifting. And so we'll see how it turns. We'll see how it turns out.
Are you going to start a
So-
competing podcast?
Well, I don't know. It's a good idea. Maybe
Why
we
do I
should.
always? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
seriously.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
No, I highly doubt it.
So do
Besides,
I.
this one's so fun to be on. I never get made fun of or anything.
Yeah. You can wear your Ugg boots. Can you wear your Ugg boots to work now? Your new job?
Probably no. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's an internet thing. It's a domain. It's
Yeah,
you can
seriously.
wear your Ugg boots.
Hey, we have a letter here from Allison Williams, who's wonderful. It says, this school year, I am trying to be intentional about parents and volunteers' spiritual health. In the past, I've mainly focused on their roles with students and not them as followers of Jesus. Deepening their spiritual wells can only strengthen the kids in my youth group. Do you all have any ideas for topics of short videos I could film to encourage their hearts?
It's really cool.
Well, I think for I'll go to the volunteer angle. Obviously, we have something called Download Youth Ministry University, which is a bunch of short 10-minute training videos that would be great for your volunteers. They can learn on their iPad, at their computer, off their phone, at their convenience.
Yeah.
What about for
And
parents?
are those a mix between like skills and stuff for your heart?
Yes.
And your faith?
Yes.
So
Yeah, both and.
that's cool.
Are you saying what about for parents? Was that your next question?
No, she asked for parents or volunteers.
Yeah.
I think there's so many topics that you could obviously do with that. My encouragement would maybe not to be to film them yourself and to
I agree.
create a little bit of a resource bank maybe for volunteers and parents of different types of things for their heart. Whether that's something to read, something to listen to, something to point them towards. That might be something that feels like it, you can have a wealth of things versus just a couple of videos. So maybe you're shooting a couple videos to set them up with your heart
Yeah,
for
I
the
like
year
that. That's a good
of
idea.
what you're hoping for. And then, maybe you're giving them 15 different spaces that you're pointing them to or something.
Yeah, and I would go to what's already in existence. So Orange, they make an app called Parent Queue that I really like. It just sends me a little notification on my phone that says, hey, think about asking this question or whatever. It has a little graphic of how many weeks you have left with your teenager in your home. It's a really fun, really powerful little app to cue me as a parent to do beyond like the maintenance of the house and keeping the machine running. Also, Download Youth Ministry just launched a Parent Tips podcast. That might be a good resource to point people towards as well. Saying, hey, it's quick, 5 minutes, little tips, little encouragement, little spiritual boost as well. That might be a good option for you too. So 2 things that are kind of established and out there already, and you don't have to do any work.
Who's doing the parents one podcast?
Jonathan McKee. is doing
that's
this little
cool.
5-minute bite-sized little parent tip. Yeah.
I think like coming up with a list of topics, that's a great question. And kind of something that Katie said that I think she was going to, or maybe I'm repeating what she said, but it could be good to pull in a couple volunteers or parents if you want to do two separate things or whatever, and get some feedback. Don't feel like you have to carry it all on your own to create what it is. And I think that as far as topics, I mean, the heart is, I think the things that you're teaching your students are things that parents and adult volunteers can also hear. So maybe there's some parallel stuff that you could do that way. I would also think about, I mean, it's probably safe to assume that your parents are going to church, the adult services every week. And so maybe you don't need to reinvent the wheel, that you could do something that dovetails off of what the sermon is and some stuff like that. So maybe you don't need to create it all from scratch. I think the third thing that I would just kind of add all to that is just having that as a value. I mean, every time, I learned when you were running volunteer meetings and then when you were running volunteer meetings, and I never was at a volunteer meeting that Griff ran. But it was always a value to just even say, hey, your heart matters. The condition of your heart is really important. And if you're not connected with God, then, that's really, that we value that. And if you need space, then we'll give you space. You need to talk to somebody. So even more than just, having topics every month and stuff, we made sure it was a value that they all knew.
That's good. Matt, do you want to talk about your parenting book?
Yes, I've been working on it for years, and it's still probably is a decade away from being finished because it'll be more like an encyclopedia. But the title would be Parenting from the Couch, Maximum Control Without Sacrificing Your Comfort. So it's going to be solid, guaranteed. Follow up to one of your books, maybe.
Yeah,
more substance.
Follow up.
Intentional Parenting and the greater successor book, Parenting from the Couch.
Sure.
Yeah, because
Do you have any chapter titles?
Who wants to leave the couch? I do, but I'd have to do an NDA deal if I were to share them with you.
Yeah, he'd have to kill you. Take your life right in order for you to hear it.
Yeah,
You did have a great Instagram
You're
not too
thinking
long
the right
ago.
way to work at pastors.com.
Because of all the NDAs.
You posted a great
That's
Instagram
funny.
about your kids carrying bricks in Home Depot or wherever you were.
Yes,
Which that is
that
one
was
of
a
your marquee disciplinary tactics.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't invent that. That was Greek mythology.
Carry bricks from one end
Yeah.
of the patio to the other. Why? Because they need to be moved.
Well,
And then move them
because
back.
they did something that was not smart.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now that they're older, you've got 2 in high school. What is the consequences?
Yeah.
Do they still carry bricks?
No, now that they're older, there's more emotional tools you could use,
Like waterboarding.
like withholding love, and creating more fear, and just making sure that they have to earn attention. And so those things I find
feels
them to
right.
be very effective.
Yeah.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
one, will that be
Psychological
one
torture,
chapter,
basically.
or was that like withholding love is one chapter?
Yeah,
and
at least
Bricks is one chapter, and then it evolves.
Psychological warfare.
There's all sorts of
Yeah.
I mean, most people do these things on accident, but I'm telling you, maybe you got
I
to do them on
appreciate
purpose.
your intentional parenting. That's
That's right.
That's why it's a follow-up to Doug's
It's a
book.
sequel.
right.
It's a
That's
So
sequel.
intentional.
It's really Kathy's book that Doug also contributed to.
No, if it was Kathy's, I wouldn't have anything to add, but yours, few gaps.
Yeah, it's not the inspired word.
gaps.
It's just, it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's
good.
like the Apocrypha.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to put that on the cover.
All right. This is from David Wood, who's junior high pastor. And-
Northern California.
Yeah. Is Northern or Central? Is it Fresno?
He's Modesto.
Randy, what
like
is
the middle.
Modesto?
What is Modesto?
It's like the middle.
Central.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's above wine country, but below.
Lion Country. They
Lion
got rid of that a
Country.
while ago.
Keep going. Modesto.
Wine.
Here we go.
Wine. I
Here we
thought you
go.
said Lion Country Safari. They got rid of that thing.
Totally.
Were
Okay,
there
so
ever
what's the
lions?
question?
David says
What's
this.
he
I'm
thinking?
currently serving as a junior high pastor and interim high school pastor at my
Nice.
church. We haven't had a high school pastor in a while, and kids are getting tired of the interim. They're tired. They're tired of waiting for the new guy to come. I've been optimistic and supportive of our leadership through the process, but it's taking a long time. How can I build excitement in the waiting? How can I create momentum when it died years ago? I have it in my junior high group, but the high school kids aren't into it. All the things I know aren't working. I'm so glad to have DYM in my corner
Yep.
and what you do for youth pastors around the world. I'm proud to call you guys friends and grateful for each of you. All right.
Very nice.
So he's junior high pastor, interim high school pastor. I love the way he says it. They're tired of
the interim guy.
of the interim guy.
It's funny.
Yeah. Sounds like you should just
taking
give
so
up
long.
and go home.
Yeah. Yeah, hurry up and find somebody.
Oh,
That's
did
how
I
you
just get a
solve it.
laugh out of Luke? That is beautiful. It's one of my goals, really.
We have producer Luke,
Yeah.
who's mixing the audio
Yeah.
and editing the
And
video.
he's
Yeah,
a
and-
veteran video person that knows you never laugh during
Well,
the videoing.
It wasn't even. I think it was a pity laugh because none of us laughed at
I
it.
think I
Like
no.
the three of us.
Yeah.
I think I know Luke better than you.
Well, you may. I'm just saying.
It sounds like Matt's killing time to not answer this question. That's what I think's happening.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Waiting for anything is hard.
Yeah.
It's super hard to wait.
Yeah.
So
well, I've been interim pastoring at a church, and the number one question I get is, when is the new person going to get here? And I'm like, So I get it. I totally feel the tension of this question. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
Maintain excitement.
Just
Redirect conversations.
No, that's a good,
Make a joke.
I think it's good to maybe there's a couple people who you could make a little bit more visible in the high school space outside of you. So are there some interim people that you can bring into, up front to lead games and to do some of those things that's not you, and train them up so they're a little bit more the faces of high school, and they can be great volunteers. They don't have to be someone paid to be looked at as leaders. So who can you really invest in, focus on to kind of, and maybe you're leading from behind the scenes and you're leading from the back while they're up front, and then students will have kind of the perception that there's some energy.
There's some other
leadership in the
leaders.
space.
Yeah. I would say, especially if you're doing some combo stuff where you're bringing the high school students into junior high now, I would say fight for some fun times that are just high school, or have them over to your house because you've taken down the barriers, the walls. You can even sit down around a living room and say, here's an update. I know you guys are really anxious for da-da-da-da, and just kind of help them warm up to the idea that this is a process that takes time, build relationships with them, and do some things that are separate would be a few tips.
Yeah, well, don't you think the high school ministry, if he was the junior high guy, that a lot of those kids were in his group.
Right.
So he does have a little bit of leverage in terms of longevity with them and, even admit I'm so excited for the new season. Sometimes this is a bigger metaphor of what happens in life. We don't get instant results. We don't have instant answers. So let's continue to pray.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. Because I'm thinking, if I'm the high school guy that's going to Modesto where he lives, I'm not excited to move to Modesto, but that's
Central California.
You kind of have to know California to appreciate that.
This is insider kind of.
Well, America kind of knows that Central California.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's no NorCal, but it's pretty
so I
bad.
may not be thrilled to move to Modesto, but I would be thrilled to know that the junior high leader set me up to win so well.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, one way he could set you up to win so well is by being so terrible that when the guy comes in, it's an easy win.
True.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
so like you said, just quit.
So I'm just quit. It all comes back to just quit. No, but speaking
yourself.
seriously though, I again, I
This
really
is where I
like
would have
what.
music right now. Matt says, speaking seriously, I would go,
Can it be the theme song from Jurassic Park?
Ooh.
I really like that one.
Speaking seriously
Okay,
for a moment.
so
You
you were
threw us
saying
off when you said
saying put some other people up front, and so maybe lead from behind. I think you could do that with adults. I think you could do that also with students. Like you could get students more involved, and they'll be passionate or at least scared out of their bones to be up there talking or speaking and stuff like that. So you can get students involved. I think that's a great idea. I think we're not there. It's a quick email. You're in Modesto and we're here. But it might be worth finding out. Am I just powering through? Am I
You're
doing
doing
okay?
great. You're doing a great job. Keep going.
Zabadi-ba-doo. That's all I can
There's
think right
some
now.
dinosaur DNA in this little drop of amber.
Which, okay, so the last thing to say,
Oh
we'll
my
go on to the
goodness.
next one, is that it might not be as bad as you think it is. you might be feeling,
Yeah,
David,
agreed.
you
Yeah,
might
that's
be
good.
feeling like, man, I hate this thing. Everyone else hates
Yeah,
this
you
thing.
think they're
What's
taking
going
They're
on
sick of
your
me,
tiredness.
yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it might be worth it to say, how excited am I for this? Do I need some kind of a shot in the arm? Perhaps you watch Jurassic Park, all those movies, and get excited about life again.
Sure.
But maybe there's a little internal work, and now if you've had students come up to you and say, "Man, you totally suck," then okay, maybe you're on the right page. So
Yeah, it's good. Hey, send your questions to podcast@downloadyouthministry.com, and
Okay.
we will try to answer
That's
them.
where I send all my questions.
Like this is a question from Mark Cox, who's a minister of students at Houston First Baptist Church. He says, it's been a while since I've written in. My wife and I left student ministry to plant a church 4 years ago, and we are back. Long story short, we closed the doors on the church plant in May. Now that I'm back in student ministry, we have really enjoyed spending...
way to go for duking it out, though. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's hard to make a risk like that.
We have really enjoyed spending time with the students and learning their stories. One of the things that my wife and I have noticed is that this group really struggles with focusing when it's time to jump into the lesson. Big group or small group. They talk over each other a lot. One of my leaders voiced some frustration about this as well last week. What are some creative ways to set boundaries and expectations for when we gather? Our group is middle school heavy, so we're lacking some of those older high school quote-unquote culture setters. I've already decided that we're going to use the new year to cast vision for our student ministry and want to blend a little bit of the expectations for how we show respect to leaders, how we approach a worship service, etc. I definitely don't want to be a downer, and all ideas would be super helpful. P.S. Coming back to the podcast has been such an encouragement. I used to listen to every episode
They're
before
talking
we
about
planted
you.
our church, and I was happy to see you guys haven't missed a beat.
There you go. I
Just
love it.
like the little drummer boy.
I would say, to answer quickly, and you have a ton of insight, especially working with junior hires, Katie, but I would say there should be a pivot in your program where you go from games and fun and excitement, or even like a big fun song that everyone's clapping or running around, whatever, and then there should be a pivot towards, hey, we're heading into a different type of behavior is to be expected. I think it's a real subtle shift in the way that your flow of your service, but you go somewhere from this is the fun and games, and we're still going to have fun and games. There's still something really valuable coming, but it's a
Like
different.
you could say, "Hey, I'm going to be serious," and then play the theme song from
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
That
Park.
would be
That's-
a great
everybody
segue.
would know.
I think you could play a transition video. There could be a volunteer that even comes up and says, "Hey, we're so glad you're here. We're going to now talk about blah, 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 blah." So you could even verbalize the expectation. But I think part of it is kids are having fun. You're giving them candy and Mountain Dew. They're laughing. They're playing games. And all of a sudden you're like, sit down and be still. So I think some cues would be a great start. That would be a way. What else do you guys add?
Well, we used to do, Matt, you'll remember this. Maybe even
I do remember this.
Katie from...
I've heard you say it.
Yeah, it'd be times if I was giving an announcement or before I'd even get up to speak, as I'm walking up to speak, I would say something to the effect, I don't remember
Yep.
the exact words, but so glad you're here, thrilled, and if you came and, all you wanted was the videos and the games, that type of... I don't remember exactly the wording, but hey, we're kind of
You have them
pivoting.
turn their chairs.
Yeah, turn your chairs
Yeah,
away
turn
from the
your chair,
table,
face
face this way,
the
grab your
stage,
notes.
sure.
And if this time isn't for you, that's no big deal. There's, for us, we needed to do that because there was hundreds of people in the room, and I don't want to be calling out people from the front. If it's a little smaller, it's easier to just
Yeah.
kind of stare one kid down or,
Yep.
Yeah.
But say, and
But you're saying we're changing the tone right
Yeah.
now. We're going a different direction.
You enlisted the help of the table leaders.
yeah, but also to say, so if this time isn't for you, no problem. This is a great time. You can get up
Get
and
out of here, go
get
smoke
up-
Yeah,
weed
when
somewhere
I
else.
pray, just sneak out, and there's no judgment here. It's great. Yeah, I've heard you say that.
Yeah, and
I think it's risky, and very few people ever took you up on it, but they heard your message, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
turn around and shut up.
yeah.
Turn around, shut up.
Don't you think where you put your volunteers and listing their help
Yes.
is big? Like, as a speaker, I never want to be the person that is correcting the audience member.
Yeah.
And I have on occasion. I just don't like how they feel, and I don't like how I feel. I don't like either of those scenarios.
Yeah, me
but have a volunteer who's a table leader or a row leader. Katie, you're so good about having your volunteers in different rows ready to go. And if someone's being a knucklehead, your volunteer before it becomes an issue, reaches over and has a quick conversation with them or taps them on the shoulder
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
So good at that.
But I like what you said about giving expectations for times, especially with middle schoolers, because if they've come from your kids program that has a different structure than yours, then, when you come into the youth ministry, there's something new that they need to be trained
Yeah.
on. And so I always view summer and even the top of the year as kind of training times. We're training them to be adults in church, and it's just starting in middle school. And so what does it look like to let them know? We do a little bit of a time like that where we just get up and we're like, hey, this is the time for the message. There's all different kinds of ways that we worship, but another way that we worship is by listening and by being encouraged from God's word. And so this is that time. And so for the next 15 minutes, like, turn off your cell phone, don't leave the room. Like, this is the space for that.
Don't go to the bathroom in the middle of the talk. You should have already done that.
So and I'm just in a middle school environment, so I get that you're setting culture in a wider range, but I do think middle schoolers need some training how to be a participant in a message. Sometimes is a new skill for them, especially if they came from videos or something like that in the kids ministry and they're just not used to a live teacher or whatever. So I think teaching them how to be in that space is good. So
Yeah, I mean, this is, I love, you had mentioned that you're going to be casting some vision, and so making expectations clear and transitions and programs clear is really, really important. Ultimately, this is a discipline issue, and it's hard to discipline well. And I think, do you have a chapter or two on that in PDYM?
Yeah. PDYM, there's a chapter on discipline.
And so there's a lot of things to think about with that. I think that just going off of my memory and pulling out a few things is I think it is important to do something to the masses where you tell everybody up front and you share the vision. But like one of the things I say more, this would be more in my small group, or if we were doing some small group like gathering, is I'll cast the vision. I'll talk on the positive end. So that's our, assuming that happens. But then I'd also say, hey, on the other end, you guys got to realize that, there's some of your friends, they go to churches, to non-Christian churches, and they do small group for an hour and a half every day before school. And in a month, they have more small groups in a month than we will in a year. And so small group time is really important, and so like I'll say some things, not necessarily to bash or to say anything negative that way, but just to say, hey, look, there's a bazillion hours in a week. We're trying to have one serious hour and let's make that happen. I think that if there is one or two people that are the bad apples in the apple cart, you got to talk to them one-on-one and pull them aside and let them know that it's important and it's serious. And if you don't want to be a cop, and not that cops are bad, except for the ones that give speeding tickets. I know you don't go into ministry wanting to just be the person who enforces all these rules, but it's important to have those. And when you have consequences, you have to follow through. And so when you say, hey, look, you're a knucklehead this week, and I think that's fabulous because I was a knucklehead, but you need to not be a knucklehead next week. And if you are, then you're going to have to take a couple weeks off. And I'm going to talk to your parents about that. Well, if that happens, you need to follow through on that. And part of it also, too, there's definitely a discipline style. Like for me, I switch back and forth between serious and silly and jokes and stuff like that. So when I discipline, I do joke quite a bit to try and break the tension, but it usually works. There's been some other people in our ministry through the years who've tried to joke around and stuff, and it just ends up making the situation worse. So you gotta be honest and truthful and upfront in the way that you are. Don't be cracking jokes if you're not always silly like person like myself. But just a few things about discipline.
I need to go back and listen to that one because you said a lot of words and you said something about non-Christian churches.
You know, I was talking about, yeah, I was talking
didn't
about,
really get.
no, I was talking about like Mormons, like the Mormon, I just don't know why I didn't say that word, but like the Mormon church, yeah, what was I even thinking?
Non-Christian
Thank you for
churches.
asking about that.
You
But like
know.
the Mormons, you know, like they most of them, if you are, that's your faithful family and you're involved in the church, like you, in high school, you go every day of the week before
Yeah.
before
Yeah,
school.
discipleship
So-
class of some type in their doctrine.
Right,
Sure.
right. And so that's what I would say. I don't know
okay.
why I was. I don't know what I was doing there. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I didn't
that.
know what you meant. Okay, good.
So
That's helpful.
So-
Great. You guys got anything to add?
I'd throw one more thing in. I like to be so filled with grace and like compassion that I let a lot slide. But when I'm done, I am done.
Yeah.
And I would say try to discipline a little more
Sooner.
quickly before you're done.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're
Right.
done,
That's-
now
that's
it's too
good.
late.
so
Yeah.
for what it's
Yeah.
worth,
I
don't
didn't,
let it
I didn't do it often, but when my volunteers were not
Responding.
doing
Yeah.
what they're doing, and I was staring from stage, and that wasn't working. You know, I just let it go. I'd finish my teaching time, and then I would go over to them, straight to that table, or those kids, put my arm. You know, I love you, right? I'm thrilled that you're here.
Yeah.
But you're next week. Don't come back. You know, or leave during the teaching time or something
Right,
like that.
right.
So I would do that with a smile on my face, with my arm around them,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
you know, like you said, Katie, some of them have to understand what is expected during this time.
Exactly.
'Cause
Yep.
you don't want one kid or one group of kid or one table to ruin it for everybody
Yeah.
else.
Quit teaching so long might be another tip too.
Well, and I
Yeah,
could
look at your
even,
content.
Could be, it's a thing.
that has been your pattern. I mean, when I was in high school, I thought it would be a great idea to get some of my friends and that we would toilet paper your house, but not just the outside. But we broke in and we
that's good
toilet
stuff.
papered the inside, and it was fantastic.
Did you
It was
put
a
your
little
arm
sad,
lovingly around him
but,
and said,
but
"Matt,
that
you know I love
weekend
you"?
at church, who was it that? Davis, somebody ratted, had no loyalty. But that weekend at church, you know, I mean, you made sure to find me. And, you know, and you did say that. I mean, you really did. I mean, you said, hey, look, I love you, but you just can't do that, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess you're right. I guess you can't toilet paper the
Yeah, so
inside
breaking
of
in
somebody
enemies
else's
is too
house.
far.
Right,
All right.
beanies. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Full tip
window
for
was
a
open. That was
team.
back when I could climb to the second
Hey,
story.
send your questions to podcast@downloadyouthministry.com. Also, we are looking for 20
20 people.
20 groups.
Pioneers.
Pioneers
as
is
it
the
were.
word. Is the word to
Get
we
dysentery
we're-
on the Oregon Trail.
That's it.
We are at close. We are actually
Like you should go on an adventure.
we
That's
are
good.
partnering with YouthWorks for some
Yes,
of
we
their
are.
summer mission trips, and we are looking for 20 pioneer churches that would be willing to give it a try this summer, the summer of 2019, because we're going to roll something out big in 2020, and we need some pioneers.
Yeah, so you never.
So
never
YouthWorks, these are missions trips.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
run
domestic here in the US.
Yeah.
mission trips.
'Cause
We
there's
have
needs here.
go to youthworks.com/DYM.
DYM,
We
you
actually
got
have a special deal where you get $30 off each student,
Yeah.
and they are, I think, of the domestic mission trips, they're one of the lower priced trips.
Yeah, already.
They do all the work for you. You just show up with kids.
Well,
They-
and this
they-
is such an important thing to have in your ministry.
Service,
it's
absolutely.
like
That's what you're
it's-
teaching on next
it's-
week in high school ministry at Saddleback, right?
That-
You're teaching on service.
That's true. That is true. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, you put a ministry together, and you know, you spend time to build relationships, and you want to have a lot of fun, and even if you go so far as to have small groups, which are really great, or life groups, whatever you call, like get into God's word, it's so important. But to put it into practice, like to actually go and serve, is really important.
Well, Josh and I are looking for 20 youth ministries that are thinking like, hey, we've been thinking about doing something.
Yeah,
like
we don't
this
have
anyway.
the organizational chops
Yeah.
to pull off all the details. There's cities all across the
Yeah,
U.S.
they
There's
have
one
over
close
50,
to you.
over 50, and
50.
we're looking for 20 people who say,
Yeah.
"I'll take kids from my youth group
Yeah.
and test it out."
This
and then
summer, let's do
we'll
it.
Meet with
2019,
you. We'll
done.
meet with the 20 afterwards and talk about how we can DYM it.
Yeah, that
That's
would be
exciting.
really, really
Yeah,
fun.
we're excited
that.
about it.
Does that mean to DYM it?
Youthworks.com/DYM.
Well,
Because
just-
it's awesome, but could we make it more awesomer?
Or or how can we communicated to our gold members.
I don't know.
And-
I've heard good things about YouthWorks.
No, they're
I don't
amazing.
think you
I'm not
guys
sure
could
we're going to
it
make it better, but
Katie could, because she could
Katie
make
could, 'cause
everything
she-
better.
Well, but maybe more people take advantage of it because of all the
Yeah.
people that you guys know.
Yeah.
So that
yeah,
could be
that's
cool.
part of it. We're just
Yeah.
excited about it, and that's not the world or the business that we do at DYM, but
Yeah.
we just like them and what they do,
Yeah.
and so we're playing around with some
So
ideas.
be one of the 20
We need
Oregon
some
Trail pioneers.
That's it.
Don't say
Yeah.
Oregon
It's
Trail.
Good to have you.
fun to be here.
Good to have you. Thanks
Matt,
for
that was
thanks for
awesome.
sitting in with us, and it was better than I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
I heard
with you.
almost half of what you said. Thanks for being
So
here.
Yeah,
much wisdom.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You guys, the
Josh actually
encouragement.
became
I've
you
had it
singing
up
the
to
song, singing.
I
Playing
was
the
very
music.
excited about that bit.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your new gig, Matt. This is going to be
Yeah.
a great fit for you. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
we're
awesome.
excited. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, don't get canned.
I'll try not to.
Okay.
I'll try not to.
Hey, also put on your calendar September 21st. It's the National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training. Don't miss it. Go to trainmyvolunteers.com.
That's great.
We done?
We're
Josh?
done. We're done. That was it. Good
CrossFit?
show.
I'm done.
Let's go.
That was
All right.
great.
Let's go youthpastordiet.com. Let's go right now. Did you lose any weight this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 pound.
I 0.8.
5.8?
No, 0.8.
0.8.
I
This
had a
week.
really big,
What
got
day
some
is it?
Indian food the
Are
other
we
day.
done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
I
done.
have to go to the bathroom pretty bad.
No, we're totally
too
done.
much
That's it.
information.
And
And cut.
We're out.
We're out.